Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nicoll.
Thank you so much for dropping in on Series 9. This is a series where I reached out to past guests' parents to see what it was like to raise an elite athlete or just a really cool person in the sense of Irie and Julie Smith, if you've listened to that episode before. Also, she has amazing athletes in her family too. I always got the question, what was it like? What did your parents do to help you in sports and all of that? So lo and behold, I have my parents on. This is episode 77. Thank you again for dropping in. Let me introduce the guest that we will be dropping in with today. Our next guest is my mom. Growing up in the UK, she was a junior champion in diving. She played lacrosse and tennis. She's a mother of 2 children, my brother, Philip, and me. She was chairman of the skating committee at the Toronto Cricket Club and highly involved in volunteering her time. She volunteers her heart out, reading and recording books for the blind, reading to AIDS patients. She was chairman of the Whistler Library for years, volunteering for the 2010 Paralympics, and she worked 15 years for Dispatch for Whistler Ski Patrol. She was nominated as Citizen of the Year in Whistler. Honestly, she volunteers for everything. Even in Mexico, she volunteers for Patronatos Pro Niños and is currently a marriage commissioner in Whistler. This mother-wife, ongoing volunteer, and best mama bear a girl could ask for is about to drop in with us. Let me introduce Alix Nicoll. Hi, Mama.
Hi, baby.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm in Mexico. It's hot, sunny, and beautiful.
I know. For the listeners that might and people that are watching, the reason that we are not together recording this is because my parents do spend a lot of time in Mexico. So I'm going to start with the rapid fire right off the bat. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we already know this one. Where in the world are you today?
Mexico.
Specifically, Mom.
Specifically, San Miguel de Allende, a city of about 180,000 people, high in the mountains in the center of Mexico, about 3 hours from Mexico City.
Awesome. And remember that these are never rapid. You've listened to my podcast before. Number 2. Okay, so these are all the same questions that I've asked the previous parents. And I know that you're my mom, so it's kind of weird that I'm asking you this, but it is what it is. And I laugh because this one's really funny. What drew you to the mountains, Mom?
My husband, John, drew me to the mountains because he was an amazing skier and their whole family all skied. And so it seemed to me that the most appropriate thing I could do was to learn to ski, which I did at a very, very late age. And yeah, it's never been my wildest, most fun sport. I've never had the confidence, I think, of people that start off really early in a sport, or certainly skiing. So for me, yeah, I came to it late in life.
Didn't you like ski for your first time in jeans? Or am I making that up?
No, I did. Your father took me to we were in New York with Charles and Emily.
Yeah.
And Charlie and John decided that they wanted to go skiing. So we went up to Sugarbush, which is where they'd both worked for donkey's years,
Yeah.
years and years ago. And I'd never seen snow. I mean, I'd never skied. I'd never done it at all. So we got to the sort of the base of the hill, and they said, well, and I looked at them and I went, I've never done this before. And they went,
Jaws dropped.
absolute jaw drop. They could not believe that they'd met someone that had never skied. It was like ice. I mean, solid blue ice. There was no snow. I mean, I think my first impression about skiing was, oh my God, I never realized it was like tabletops. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Anyway, they got me to the top and they had to nurse me down. It was a very, very ugly, not a nice, happy thing all round. We had to have copious drinks afterwards to recover. And the next time I skied actually was with your grandmother. I went out to Switzerland with her and decided that I had to learn to ski.
Where in Switzerland did you ski?
Davos. Your grandparents used to go out there, and then your father used to go out there with Elspeth, his sister,
Okay.
and they used to spend a lot of time. Davos and Klosters was their big base.
Okay, cool. Number 3, again, when your kids were younger, what was offered to them after school?
Anything they wanted to do, skating, baseball, I mean, all those activities that we were so lucky to have included a lot in sort of extracurricular stuff from the school as well. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, to me, you learned to do as many things as you could possibly do and find out, which one you liked. I mean, I
Yeah.
seem to remember you did piano lessons as well.
Thanks for bringing that one up. I feel like I touch on that at some time prior, but yeah, I did try piano. My parents rented a piano, knowing very well that I don't think any of us are musically apt. And I went to my first recital and I started playing and I looked down and I was in the wrong key and I just didn't know how to get out of it. So I kept playing and I never went back to piano.
Well, that was one of the things that you tried at and,
I mean,
decided it wasn't yours.
hold on, did you know in the recital that I was playing it, that it didn't sound really bad?
Well, I don't think it sounded any worse than some of the other kids. I mean, we did have a lovely little. Do you remember the little Chinese girl who was absolutely outstanding? She was about, the size of a grasshopper, and she got up and sort of almost played the Moonlight Sonata, which was a little disconcerting for the rest of you. But no, I mean, I wasn't very musically inclined. I did piano at school and used to get my knuckles rapped frequently. But I thought, hey, got to give it a try.
Oh my
Philip tried the electric guitar. Do you remember? That
Yeah, I
was,
do.
yeah.
I do.
So, you know,
Oh my gosh.
we
I'm
can leave that
sorry.
one. Yeah, we can leave that one behind.
So, but I do want our listeners and viewers to know that, like, I did grow up in Toronto for my young years, and that was a great opportunity to try, like, so many different sports. And I really did, especially when I was at Bayview Glen, like, I tried everything that was there.
Well, you also won the junior sports, champion of the year kind of thing for doing so many sports because you really had yourself into everything. I mean, you were swimming for the school.
Yeah, in the
Remember that?
mornings.
You did swimming and you
Yeah.
did skating and you did,
I tried basketball, volleyball. I was pretty
yeah,
short. Tried track.
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
like everything.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's what we encouraged you to do was to try everything and then find something that you wanted to hone in on. But you
Yeah.
really, I mean, skating was your big thing there and swimming, that was the big thing. And
Yeah.
then you did softball. I think you did
Yeah.
softball for the
Right.
school and of course you skied, you skied
Right.
for them. In those days
Yeah.
you were on 2 boards.
Yeah, back in the
Yeah.
day. I still do
Yeah.
every now and then. Okay, number
Yeah.
4. What was the last book you read? Side note, sidebar. This woman reads so many books that she's a problem. So you're
Mm.
probably reading like 3 books at the same time right now.
I am. I'm
Okay,
reading the Night Train Porter, and I'm reading a book I just finished called Lessons in Chemistry, which is hugely fun, and we're doing it as a book club book. It's
Yeah.
great. I really encourage that one. And I have just started going back to an old book that I haven't read for donkey's years called Uncle Fred in the Springtime by P.G. Wodehouse. So I'm running the gamut of about 3 books at the moment, but and then a couple on my iPad as well. Well, not my iPad, I guess on my phone.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I read, and then I do Shakespeare reading. We do a group every second week, so we read a Shakespeare play out loud. Yeah,
Of
books
course
are
you
my
do.
thing, and we just went to a sale, and they had free books, so I came home with like 8 books, so it was wonderful.
You read very differently than me and Dad.
Oh yes.
Dad
Well,
and I get
hey, now your father, I would suggest your father had and has always had a touch of dyslexia. So reading isn't a pleasure.
Did he? Well,
Oh
no, it
yeah,
is
very
a
much so.
pleasure though. It is a pleasure though.
Not for him. It really isn't. It's a bit of a slog. And
Yeah,
so
but like you get into that world and then you have to stay in it. It's not like we can read 3 books at the same time.
but I also think that he doesn't find it an incredibly relaxing.
Yeah, because
You
he's
know,
got to get through it.
yeah. But I think that's to do with dyslexia, and I think
I don't think it
that's.
does. I'm not dyslexic, and
I didn't say you were. I think he was
okay,
definitely as a child. Yeah, I
fair.
had a
Okay,
lot of trouble. Yeah,
this
so I
is where
think
we're
that's
gonna
it.
agree to disagree.
Okay. I read. I read enough for all of you anyway.
I know. Well, I read a lot too, but I'm like get
Well, you
really
do
into
now.
them.
Well,
Yeah.
Auntie Peggy gave you the Harry Potter books, the 4,
And that kind of like
initial
got
ones.
me into it.
That was what started you reading, and I
Yeah.
always sort of thank her
And
for
then
that.
wait, didn't you say that someone at the book sale, because I gave those to the book sale, my Harry Potter books, which it's not that I regret that, but I wasn't thinking properly that I should have kept them. And didn't you say someone picked it up and freaked out that it was my book because my name's in all of them?
Well, yeah, but, I mean, let's put it this way. When we sold the house on Mountain View, we
Yeah.
gave, uh, I don't know, I can't remember, 14 boxes of books,
Yeah.
and they all had either
Our
your
name.
name, my name, or our names in it. So
Yeah.
yes, so, you talk to people in Whistler and they go, "Oh, I
Your
just
book.
finished your book," whatever it was, they go, "Really?" You go, "Yeah, yeah, I got it at the book sale," or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. That's
so
pretty
there is a
rad.
lot of our literature in Whistler.
I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, number 5. Was school a big part in your kid's life, or was there time off for sports?
There was always time off for sports, and I think you especially were very lucky in that you had most of your schooling at Whistler. When you
Mhm.
think about it,
Like
you did some core stuff in Toronto, where you had access to tons of sports. But when we moved back to Whistler, it really was the quarter system in those days that gave you
mhm.
that ability to train, to go away and compete, but to also keep up with your studies.
Yeah.
And I think Philip came in at the tail end of that. I mean, Philip did a lot of sports when he was in Toronto. He
Yeah.
skied and he did all the stuff. But when he came back, he really maybe didn't take as much opportunity or get into quite as much. But definitely, the Whistler ski program and the Whistler sports program,
Right, but
and summer school.
let's touch on the kids in Whistler that have the 20 centimeter rule. We didn't have that in our family. It's not like we were like, it snowed a lot, we were allowed to go up the hill. We still had to go to school.
No, you had to go to school, and I think that was fine. And I think the 20 centimeter rule was actually much more to do with the people that worked in Whistler. I mean, if you were building a house and there was a 20 centimeter day, that was really the end of your building day. I mean, you just didn't see a workman at
No,
all.
there are parents that are like 20 centimeters, you get to go up. Like, who's
Well,
going up with them? I don't
no,
get it.
no,
Anyways,
no.
I'm fine. I lived a good life. Okay, number 6. Um, number 6. I only laugh because it's my mom. Would you be at all your kids' events when they were younger?
Oh gosh, I was terrified. No, I absolutely, especially when you started in the half pipe. Boy, I could not watch that. That was absolutely terrifying to me. I mean, to see you.
I
Oh,
think you only came to 4 events in my whole life.
I was there at the big ones, let's put it that way. I was
You were
there at
Your
the.
first one was World Championships in Whistler,
Yep.
and I crashed really hard.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I only remember the ones that you won and came away with medals and flowers
Because
and all kinds of things, because those are the ones that I always think are the most important things. So
well,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe you did come up to the first World Cup half pipe that I was in, and I
Oh,
ended up 3rd.
yes. Yes, because they took you off to drug test you,
Yeah.
and you didn't even get on the podium. And I
Yeah.
still have the plastic flowers that they gave you.
Yeah,
Absolutely
so
100%. Yeah, yeah.
so for those that don't know how it works, if you podium at a World Cup, you have to get drug tested, and then there's a random person that'll get drug tested, and I was so young at that point that I didn't know what that meant really, so the drug testing person literally took me and we left. So I missed the whole podium ceremony because I think the volunteer also didn't know that we had to go, like, that I could have waited
Mhm.
to stand on the podium, get my flowers. So, yeah, that was my first World Cup podium that I was on the podium and I didn't actually get to be on the podium.
Yeah. And the drug testing was like, do you remember them when they came one Christmas Eve?
Yeah, they came all the time.
I mean, you can't believe it. They arrive at the house on Christmas Eve, "Oh, here we are, just pee into a cup." I mean, you're going, "We're just about to go out for dinner." "No, no, no time for that."
I
They've,
know.
Anyway,
Oh,
yeah.
that's like a whole
No,
nother
but
series.
I did have a problem watching you, I must admit it. I tried very hard, but it was very difficult.
You
But,
did watch my last Olympics in Pyeongchang,
oh,
though.
yes. No, I was there, and that last run of yours, it felt like some large weight had gone off my shoulders. It was so cold and it was so great, but you were so amazing because you had come back, which was,
Right.
I think, probably one of the moments that I was most proud of in anything you've ever achieved. I mean, Vancouver was incredible. To be in
Yeah.
Vancouver, to watch you compete on home soil and to do so well was absolutely unbelievable, and to be surrounded by family. And I did watch. Even Tara would say, I watched every single solitary moment. So
Did
that was,
you?
yeah, I did. I was hanging
I
on
didn't
for
know
grim
that.
death to the railings, but I was watching. But
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that last one, yeah,
Because
bittersweet.
I did tell you it was gonna be my last Olympics.
Yeah, yeah. And it was bittersweet. It was very bittersweet. Amazing to see you even come back from Sochi and all the, everything that happened there with the concussion and
Yeah.
your injuries, and you were a gutsy lady, very much,
Oh,
very
thanks,
much so.
Mama.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, number 7, how active is your lifestyle?
I'm pretty active. I've just had a new hip, so I've been a little less active than usual. But no, I mean, I have a group that's been together in Whistler. We've been working out with Mandy we worked it out 25 years this year.
Is
Same group,
it?
yeah, and the core group is still
Wow.
together.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that used to be Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and
Mhm.
then I've
I
always
used
done,
to come in and say hello and do some workouts with you too.
yeah, and then yoga, which I've always enjoyed. I
Mhm.
did ballet as a little girl. I've always been relatively active, but not in a sort of a competitive winter sportsy kind of way. I mean, I'm happy to do stuff, and I don't like running. I hate running.
Wait, let's talk about your running because I do talk about your volunteerism, which is chaotic for anyone to follow. You did run for AIDS one year, right? Was that where
We walked for AIDS. It
Oh,
was the
you
Walk for AIDS in Toronto. Yeah,
and
and
is
I
that
was
where you found
volunteering.
out is that where you found out your legs were not aligned
Oh
properly?
no, that was that other one that they got me to do. That was the 24-hour relay,
Right.
and you had to do it like 3 times or something. And my first one was like 2 in the morning, and I just don't run, and I've never liked it. And when I came in,
Yeah.
I was in a lot of pain. I think I was overtaken by a few wheelchairs. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Um, and
I'm not
the guy looked at me and he said, there's something wrong with the alignment of your legs. And I said,
Okay.
really? And he
Mm.
said, yeah, he said, I'm going to ask you a personal question. What year were you born? So I told him, and he said, oh, so that was after the war. And I went, yes, because during the war, the kids didn't get enough good nutritional food, and
Yeah.
they grew up with something called rickets, which meant that their tib
Right.
fibs were very, very weak. So they tended to bow,
Bow. Right.
and so they didn't have the strength in them.
Mhm.
And so mine are just off a bit too. So when I run, first it hits my knees, and then I
Right.
run in another way and then it gets into my hips, and then, yeah. So thank God he said to me, I think you should give this up. And I was like, yes,
Done
not
and
a,
done.
I'm done.
I
Yeah.
know, I was secretly maybe that's me too, because I also don't like running, but I do
No,
it
but
because
you do. And I love to walk. I mean, I'll
yeah.
walk for miles and miles and miles, and
Oh,
love to
should we
do that.
actually introduce everyone to a Nicoll family walk and how that works?
Well,
Oh, oh, should
that's
I?
usually,
Let me
you
explain
could
it.
explain that.
Oh,
Yes,
please.
yes.
So, yes, my mother does like to walk. She did just get a new hip this December. Was it January?
January.
January 2023. And we are currently April 15th. She got a new hip, but before that, a family walk, let me describe it, is my mom about 200 feet in front of us going for it. And me, my brother, and my dad are just like, oh, well, there's mom. She's just gone. She doesn't want to talk to us. She's in mode. Just go, go, go. That is a Nicoll family walk. So it's really just me, my dad, and my brother. And then mom's just way out in front, doesn't really give a care about us.
Well, it hasn't changed much. We were out this morning, and your father was about 50 yards behind me, and I'm going, could we have a conversation? He's like, you're too far ahead. Yeah, no, it hasn't changed much. But that's
The
it.
hip is working.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 8, Mom. I love these rapid fires that are never rapid. How do you motivate yourself on days that you might be lacking motivation to get outside and be active?
Oh boy, I think about people that don't have the abilities that I have.
Mm.
So I will think about some of my friends, who maybe aren't able to do things anymore, and some of them who've, had accidents, or even just people that just have had disabilities from a long time. And I think about that, and I think, boy, well, my little friend Susie comes straight to mind. She's had an autoimmune disease for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And she has really, really bad times, but she never lets it get her down. She
Yeah.
always gets up and gives it one more try. And I
Yeah.
think that's what motivates one is people that can't, but you can, and you're just being
Yeah.
plain lazy about it all. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Other
that's so
people.
true. That's
Yeah.
so true. But you're also accountable to your workout group. I think accountability to
Oh yeah.
others is, like, pretty important.
Yeah, when we went on to Zoom, it was a miracle. I mean, you should have seen all of us
Yeah.
trudging through the snow to get to, the workout, to, get to Creekside and get out of the car and get out of your boots and your 18 layers of clothing, and then, get going. And then at the end of it all, reversing that whole process. And
Yeah.
Zoom's been amazing. I mean, I think that's what's kept us all together. And now that the Creekside gym has closed,
Mhm.
Mandy's going to keep on doing Zoom.
Yeah,
So
that's
we will
awesome.
keep on, our group will stay together,
That's great.
which is pretty amazing.
Mom, this is a real serious question. Number 9.
I'm
We're
ready.
almost done. What makes you smile?
You, my kids, sunshine in the mornings,
Aw,
my family.
yeah.
Yeah, those are the things that make me happy.
That's
Wake up knowing that, it's another beautiful day. My children are having fun and doing things, and that they're there for me. And your dad always makes me smile. I mean,
yeah.
he's
He's pretty
just,
funny.
he's pretty funny. Yes.
Okay, number 10, the last one. Da, 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 da. Did you know about your kids' passions from a young age?
Well, let me put it this way. Philip was far more outgoing about communicating what he wanted. Um, Philip was, always told you. He was either happy, he was sad,
Yeah.
he wanted something, he needed something, and he could never be on his own. So, the worst thing you could do to Philip was to send him to his room, and he would, oh, hang on, that's dropped out of my ear. And he would say, "But by myself?" And you'd go,
Right.
Yeah, of course, but I'll be all alone." So that was always, a key sort of, you knew what he wanted, you knew where he was
Mhm.
going, and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
then you used to sort of totally co-opt me. I mean, you used to throw me for a loop, because I'd just be getting, to a point where I was just about to lose my cool, and you'd go, "And I'm going to my room now, all by myself." And you'd stomp off, upstairs and slam the door, and I'd look at, and I'd go, how did she do that? I still don't know what that was all about. So you were much more difficult as a little kid to communicate with. I mean, you got better as you got older, and obviously, you later on you learned to speak beautifully about everything and do, presentations and things. But communicating,
No, it's funny. You're not wrong, because I remember Tara Teagan, I think she may have told you this, but she was like, "It was so hard getting answers out of you, because I just didn't care, like, I don't know, I just wanted to snowboard, and I just wanted to,
but
like, do what I
there,
wanted to do."
there was also that guy from The Sun, and he did an interview with you, and he said that he had to interview you twice, because the first time he couldn't get anything out of you, and the second time he only got a little bit out of you, and he thought if he had to interview you for the third time, he was going to give up. And it was time for you
Really?
yeah, and it was time for you to learn to present
Shit.
yourself, talk about yourself, because Yeah, I mean, you were an
Oh,
up-and-coming snowboarder, and people wanted to know. And the
yeah,
fact that you really didn't care was not quite what they wanted to hear.
I
But anyway,
know.
that was it.
Well, all the kids listening, learn how to answer questions with more than a yes and an no. That's what I learned. Oh, man. And now when I interview people, I'm like, you have to also form the question in a way that it's not going to be a yes and a no. And you have to be friendly. And it is what it is. But
Well, I
I've
think
changed.
well, yes, but
I've
listening to
grown.
you yeah, and listening to you over the series of podcasts you've done, what you also do that I think is so important when you're interviewing is to listen. So,
Mhm,
you may have a set of questions there, but if
mhm,
the person leads you into, another direction, you go with that flow, and
mhm.
you then play on that, which I think is an important part of interviewing at the best of times. I hate
Totally.
those guys, that just go, "Oh boy, she just said something really interesting, but my next question is," and
Right, right, right.
yeah, so that you never get that follow up.
Mhm. Okay, so passions, we all had our passions. Did you know that, like, did you see the passion of me snowboarding?
Yeah, yeah, I think I did, especially when you used to go off to those amazing competitions with Timmy and Mikey, and you'd head off at the weekends, and you'd come back, and you'd just be so full of what you were doing and loving it. And I think even that first sort of 3-day snowboarding thing that you did that over that Easter holiday,
Yeah.
you came down and you were like, "That's my sport,"
Did
and I
I?
was like, "What is it? What are we doing?
Okay, wait,
Where are we
let's
going?"
I do you know what my favorite thing to, touch on was my first time snowboarding is it was me and Brett Kane, a friend from Ontario, and we were in purple descente ski outfits. Like we were we were twins, but he was a guy and I was a girl, and we had the same like purple ski outfits with a flare of turquoise around the collar. And we were in Sorel snowboard boots because it was like the mid 90s and we were learning how to snowboard. And that's like my biggest takeaway was like we were infiltrating snowboarding in descente ski outfits.
But the amazing thing was at the end of the 3 days, you were coming down, doing incredible turns,
Yeah.
and, Brett always says, "I think I knew then that I was gonna be left behind on that front." And, but you but you always had a joy, and you still do, in the things that you love to do. I
Mm,
mean, skating, I
mhm.
remember when you were a little tiny, tiny person on your skates doing figures, which in those days were mandatory,
Right,
and doing figures with Mr. Colson, and just giggling away, and he would be saying,
right,
slow down, Mercedes, slow down," and you'd be going, "It's such fun. Look at me," whizzing round doing these figures of eights and stuff. And you
right.
always had a joy in the things that you were doing. So yes, there definitely was always a passion to what you were
Yeah,
doing.
isn't that
I mean,
funny?
you didn't do the things you didn't like,
Like
and that
what?
was well, I mean, I don't I can't sort of think offhand. Well, piano playing, I mean, we gave up, that was kinda like, "Okay."
Yeah, I feel like that's, like, one of the main ones I remember giving up on.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
Well, you
like,
never did.
I was kind of embarrassed, I think. I was like, "I played in the wrong key, I'm not going
Yeah.
back for lessons."
But then, I mean, there was no way you were going to be a girl guide, or, whatever the one before it was, brownies or something. Nope,
Right.
not doing that. And we were like, "Okay, that's fine." And I have no idea why you didn't, because Philip was a cub forever,
He was
and,
a yeah,
he was a cub. He was a cub. He
a
never
cub.
became a Boy Scout. I don't think he went
Why
to
would
Scouts.
that's so funny that I wouldn't be into that. I feel like
No.
I'd be into it now. I don't know,
Yeah,
sports. I feel like this was, like, funneled into sports, and I don't know why, but that's just, like and I've asked you that. I'm like, "Why did I do all of these sports?" And you were like, "You just wanted to, and you
yeah,
just chose to, and
yeah.
luckily it was an option."
Yeah, and I suppose, if you'd been an academic, the same thing would have happened. You would have been,
We
passionate
all know
about
we all know that
well,
didn't happen.
yeah, but well, don't mess around. I mean, you graduated with your year, which I think was incredible. You came out with,
On time. I
yeah,
graduated twice, though.
it's a family trait.
Yeah.
We're lucky Philip didn't graduate 4 times, but, it I think whatever had been your passion would have taken you in whichever direction you'd wanted to go. So I
Right.
think, that was your choice.
Yeah.
And I don't think we made you do anything particularly that you didn't want to do.
Right.
It would have been difficult.
So if you were gonna chat with parents that maybe bringing children into the world and offering them advice as to how to raise an Olympian or just an elite athlete, what would you tell them?
Whew, boy. I think you have to watch what the child is involved in, watch what the child has a passion for,
Mhm,
support them as much as you possibly can.
mhm,
And I think the whole concept comes down to what do they want to do? Um,
mm,
as you mentioned, I was chairman of the skating committee at the TCSC for a long time. And I watched a lot of parents live vicariously through their children. And
right, and that's
that
like a thing.
it's very difficult because you know you you probably wanted to be something special, and now you have a child and you want that child to go in that direction.
Right.
I think that happens with a lot of parents, not even in sport. It happens, my
Y
father was a
everywhere.
lawyer. My father was a lawyer, so I have to be a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah,
My mother's a nurse. I should be a nurse. So I think you have to listen to the child, and I think you have to watch
right.
what they want to do, because
Right, but also how do you sorry, I'm totally interrupting you, but you're my mom, so I can't.
Mhm.
How how do you like, you let me kinda go off and give me independence and do things on my own. How do you translate that to other parents? Like, maybe don't sit and watch their whole skating hour of training or I don't know. Like, how do you give that independence to kids with parents that maybe aren't ready to let go?
Oh boy, that's difficult. I mean, some parents never let go. I don't know. I mean, I think that's an
Yeah.
individual parental feeling that you want your child to be independent. Like I'm an only child. I went to boarding school, um, so for me there was no competition. I didn't have brothers and sisters to compete against. I always won. That was me. And
Now
and
it's a different story, mom, when we play cards.
well, I still don't share. I don't.
We
I
s
don't share very well.
we're
Um,
a work in
That's
progress.
no, probably not. I don't. I think we might leave that one aside. But
Never gonna share.
probably not. I
Okay,
think
so everyone's got their quirks and quirries.
yeah. But I sincerely think that I always wanted to bring up children that could stand on their own 2 feet,
Mhm.
that were independent, that didn't have to rely on me for everything.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be that parent that, was like a what do they call them? Helicopter parents.
Helicopter.
I
Yeah.
couldn't stand it. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, I could drop you at skating. I knew where you were. I could go and do my thing. I could work my committee meetings. I
Uh-huh.
could do what I want, and I could
Uh-huh.
come back. I didn't have to watch you 24 hours a day. To me, I mean,
Right.
I would have gone bonkers anyway. But that whole thing of
That's
not
the
letting
love.
go.
Feel the love, people.
Oh, yeah. But part of that is love because you want that child to
To
have the
grow.
independence and to
Yeah.
grow and to be their own person and
And
not
so
to,
s
yeah.
so when I was figure skating back in the day, what were you doing? Like, were you going and playing tennis and doing your own sport, or were you
Yeah, I used to try and do that. So I would drop
Yeah.
you. I had meetings because I was on the skating committee for my,
Right.
amazingly
Right.
enough. Yeah, they who all thought I skated all over the place, and none of that. But anyway, or
Newsflash, newsflash, she never skated.
no, no, I told them I'd never competed, so it worked quite well.
You
But
weren't lying.
if you can run a meeting, you can run a meeting. You can run a committee. You can run a committee, and
Oh,
basically you just have to
mom.
deal with people. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you did that, and then yeah, I played a lot of tennis in those days, and I
You
was
live you
involved in
lived like, you
school.
lived your own life while your
Yeah,
kid was living their own life.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
And I think
very
that
much.
makes sense, but I think that's hard for some parents nowadays. But I do appreciate it.
Yeah, and I
But
think parents now, it's a different world. I literally could, you could walk to school, you could get on a bus, you could go by yourself. We didn't,
yeah.
mollycoddle you. And we were in a big city. We were in Toronto for a lot of that time.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I think now life has changed. Life
Yeah.
out there has changed. One is far more wary of things that can happen. I mean,
Yeah.
we'd open the door and you'd go up to the end of the street and you'd play on the playing fields, or you'd skate on the skating rink up there.
Yeah.
We didn't. I think now there's an overlying concern about what's actually happening on the streets.
Mm.
You and Philip were supposed not to cross Young Street to go to the
I did. I
store,
definitely did all the time to
but,
go to the candy store.
but
Wait, did you know that? Did you know that
yes,
we
of
did that?
course, of course, of course, we
How
knew
did
that.
you
But
know?
I
We
mean,
even like hid our candies.
yeah, but that's not that's a parental thing. You know what's going on.
Oh,
But nowadays, whereas I wasn't concerned, whereas now I think I would be concerned. I would be
yeah.
concerned with you walking through the ravines and
Yeah.
doing that kind of thing. And I think that that's a different perspective that parents have. It's
Yeah.
all very well to say, open the door, let them go, let them eat dirt, do whatever. It's not
Yeah.
as simple now, I don't think. So I
That's
think,
true.
we were lucky. We were lucky.
Yeah. Different era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Mom, anything else to share with kids or parents that think that they would like to get into sports?
I think the best thing to do is to encourage, to
Mhm.
watch where their passion begins to grow. Try a lot of things.
Mhm.
Don't hold back. If someone says they want to be a rocket scientist, hey, who knows? She
Yeah.
could be. I mean,
Yeah.
she could be now. That's the option that you've got. I mean, there are women going into space. There are
Yeah.
women doing all kinds of things. Don't hold back. Don't
Yeah.
ever say, "Oh, you can't do that because you're a girl, or because you're too young, or
Are we
because
past that now though? Because you're a girl? I
I
mean, and now too young, too young. Like there's like an 11-year-old in the half pipe that's
yeah
absolutely like crushing it. So I
yeah."
don't like I don't know if there's like too young and you're a woman. I hope that we're past that, but I guess we're
Well,
probably
I
not.
think you have to read the book that I've just been reading called Lessons in Chemistry, and then you will. It's set a little further back, but
Yeah.
it's a woman who is a scientist, and her struggles too, but very funny struggles. She also
Right.
becomes a single parent, yada yada. But
Okay.
yes, so I think it's still out there. I think women are still fighting for equality. I think we're still fighting for the same wages, for the same
Oh yeah.
recognition, for all
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Your sport is divided into men and women.
Yeah.
The only sport I can think of that isn't is riding. Equestrian.
Right.
They all compete on a level playing field, whether you're a woman or a man on a horse.
I
That's
love
it.
that.
And so, yes, I mean, I think, yes, the men can huck themselves higher.
Not
But
anymore.
not that much anyway.
The
I
girls
mean,
are catching up
the girls,
for sure.
the girls
Like
have
there's
to.
a fire. There is a fire. It's
Yeah,
pretty rad to see.
yeah,
I'm glad I'm not in it like
yeah,
that anymore. It's
yeah.
still a
And
soulful sport for me though.
I mean, you look at how the half pipe has evolved. I mean, when you were first going, it was what, 12 feet or something.
Yeah, it was
Then it
like
got to
small.
sort of 15 feet. I
Yeah.
mean, 22 feet dropping in.
I know.
I remember your brother doing it. Do you remember?
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
never ever dropped into a half pipe, and he came out. He goes, "Whoa,
I
that was the
know.
scariest thing I've ever done." And you're going. Well, that's why I was a little bit concerned when your sister decided that was, the one that she'd.
That
Holy
was only
cow!
like 5 years ago too
Yeah,
when we had the fam
yeah,
jam up at
yeah.
Whistler. Oh
Yeah, I
man,
mean,
bless his heart.
and yet he hucks himself off amazing things with skiing and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that was, I think, an eye opener. So
A different respect,
yeah,
a different level of
yeah,
understanding,
yeah,
especially for, like, anyone. If you're out there and you have not gotten into a 22-foot half pipe or even just, like, a mini pipe or, whatever, just go in there and get an idea for what it is because nothing on TV feels the same in person.
no, and I think that's the other thing is don't ever. There aren't any barriers. There shouldn't be any. I mean, I know they do these extreme sports now, and they are pretty scary, but
Mm.
there's a level where you go, it's my comfort zone or it's not my comfort zone. Do I push
Mhm.
myself through that comfort zone? And as
And
a
that's your
parent,
choice.
oh yeah,
That's
and
the
as a
kid's
parent,
choice.
yeah, as a parent watching, you
Yeah.
don't say, no, 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 you can't do that. You have to encourage children to be themselves,
Yeah.
to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And to me, that's always been the most supportive I could be, even if it terrified the wits out of me. That was it. So yeah, I
Thanks,
think
Mom.
parents nowadays let them rip, let them go, let them be who they are. and
Yeah.
listen to what they want to do. Listen to
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I would say is listen, because a lot of people always think that they should have the last word.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
listening to your kids.
don't live vicariously through your children. If
Yeah.
you see that they
Yeah.
hate figure skating and they don't want to be there,
Yeah.
then don't make them do it
Thanks for that one.
just because you wanted to do it, you know?
I remember I'm trying to think of like other things that I tried that I hated. But I mean, I failed at a lot of things. Like I remember coming home after like sitting on a skateboard with half my face off, and I mean, you weren't the happiest human because I think it snuck out, but um I tried that and I failed.
Yeah, but that's, and it's not necessarily failure. It's just something that you've decided isn't your
Tried.
sport. You
Yeah.
tried it and did
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I do want to touch on before we leave is after my crash and in my recovery and me, I remember really well, even though I was concussed, telling you and dad or having a conversation with you and dad about wanting to compete again. And you guys were stellar in the sense that I think a lot, I don't know like what other parents would say after such a huge recovery, but you backed me the whole way, and I thank you for that.
I think I felt it was part of your recovery. I felt it was a very important thing for you to do, to get back up on that board. Was gutsy to then to then believe enough in yourself, that you would go to another Olympics
Yeah.
was huge. Was absolutely huge, and I don't think we could ever have not supported you because you want what's best for your child. You want what is going to make them strong and what is going to make them, gosh, I can't even know the words. But I was, as I said, standing at the bottom of that half pipe in Korea for your last run, having seen you revisit the actual trick that took you out so badly,
Yeah.
was, oh boy, be still my beating heart. I mean, that was a gut-wrenching moment. I mean, it
Right.
really was. And stupid
Did
freaking
did you guys watch my practice? Were you there for practice?
Yeah.
Okay, so just for reference, like in practice, I could not for the life of me land this backside 900, which is the trick that took me out, and it just wasn't coming together. And then I don't know, like the world works in mysterious ways, but the last run of practice in Sochi, that trick took me out. The last run of practice in Pyeongchang, I landed it for the first time in 4 years. So, like, I remember going down to the bottom of the half pipe and just being overly excited. I was so happy that my parents were there. I was like glowing. Like there must have been a crazy glow around me. I was so happy. And my parents were so happy. And then I was like, "Oh, I still need to go up and compete."
But also, I think, what was so lovely in your sport is so many of your competitors were so excited about you.
Yeah.
Kelly and all of them were so happy that you'd managed to do that. And there was a lovely camaraderie in your
Mhm.
sport that I don't know that you see all over.
Yeah.
Certainly not in skating. There's not a lot of that. But,
No, that's why I quit skating.
yeah, and I think that's what I loved so much about all your friends that you made. And, they'll be friends forever,
Yeah.
from that point of view. And even when you were at X Games and things like that, there was
Yes.
that go. I mean, I remember your final, not your final, but I guess getting into finals in Vancouver,
Mhm.
making it through to finals, and the Americans were cheering as hard for you as they were for
Aw.
the rest, because you were part of them. You'd been in Mammoth for all those years. You'd been with
Right.
so many of them for so
They pretty
long.
much they pretty
They
much thought
sort
I
of
was American.
thought you were an American. And so that's what I loved about, that
Yeah.
that sport. And I hope it continues. I really do,
I do
you
too. I
know.
know I see it changing a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that soul and that generation, I think that there will be something that holds true to it,
Yeah.
even if we're just free riding and having a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Competitive sports are challenging and
Well,
you
let's
gotta
put it
you
this
gotta
way.
choose the right one for you.
Hey, competitive sports that are judged are brutal and always will be. And I have always said, oh
It's
my God,
true.
if my child gets into anything, please make it a sport where she comes across a finish line.
I
Didn't happen.
didn't go
happen,
that way. I
but it's
did do
tough.
border cross for a bit. Actually, when
Yeah,
I was starting off, I did everything.
yeah.
And
Well, yeah,
I
that was
just
it.
loved
Yeah,
half pipe. Everyone asked me, they're like, "Why did you get into half pipe?" I'm like, "Well, that's what was available at the time."
yeah,
So yeah. Mom,
yeah.
thanks so much for dropping in today.
It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Just
I love
lovely. Very
you.
proud of you, my little honey bear.
Thank you. Okay. Talk
Yes.
soon.
Okay. Take care, sweetie pea.
Thanks so much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about dropping in with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.